Have you ever had that uncomfortable moment as a leader where you realize people around you are being polite, but not fully honest? They say things are fine, but you can feel something is off. Problems surface later than they should. Concerns show up too late. People nod in meetings, then complain in private. You ask for feedback, and everyone says the right thing, but not the real thing. And over time, the silence starts costing you. Because when your team stops telling you the truth, the issue is usually not that people suddenly became dishonest. It is that something in the environment taught them that honesty was not safe, not useful, or not worth it. That is what we are talking about today. Today's episode is about why your team stops telling you the truth. One of the clearest signs of leadership strength is not whether people agree with you all the time. It is whether people feel safe enough to tell you what is really happening, especially when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or not what you want to hear. Before we dive in, I've included links in the description to free resources that can help you grow in your communication, leadership, and confidence at work. And if you want to go deeper into strategic thinking and leadership, you can also check out my book, The Strategy Blueprint, a step-by-step guide to building your company strategy, available now on Amazon. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Work Chat, where we help you navigate the modern workplace with more clarity, confidence, and influence. And today, we're talking about something that has a huge impact on every team, even when no one says it out loud, whether people feel safe enough to tell the truth. Because most leaders say they want honesty. They say they want people to speak up. They say they want candid feedback. They say they want transparency. They say, please tell me if something is wrong. But what many leaders miss is this. People do not decide whether to be honest based on your words alone. They decide based on your patterns. They are watching how you react. They are noticing what happens to the person who speaks up. They are paying attention to whether honesty creates progress, tension, punishment, or nothing at all. And if the pattern tells them that truth is risky, they will stop bringing it to you. Not always in dramatic ways. Sometimes they just become more careful, more filtered, more vague, more agreeable, more likely to tell you what sounds acceptable instead of what is actually true. And that is how teams slowly become less honest. So let's talk about why this happens. The first reason. Your reactions teach people what is safe. This is probably the biggest reason teams stop telling leaders the truth. Not because the leader explicitly says, do not be honest, but because the leader's reactions make honesty feel expensive. Maybe you get visibly irritated when someone challenges an idea. Maybe you become defensive when feedback comes your way. Maybe your tone changes. Maybe you ask for honesty, but when it shows up, you explain it away, shut it down, or make the conversation harder than it needed to be. People notice that quickly. And once they notice it, they adapt. They start thinking, it is easier not to bring this up. This is not worth the tension. I do not think this will go well. Let me just keep this to myself. That is why leadership reactions matter so much. Because every time someone tells you something uncomfortable, you are teaching the team something. You are either teaching them that honesty is survivable or that honesty comes with a cost. The second reason. People stop telling the truth when honesty changes nothing. This one gets overlooked a lot. Sometimes the problem is not that leaders react badly. Sometimes the problem is that nothing happens. A team member raises a concern. They point out a pattern. They flag a risk. They share that something is not working. And then, nothing. No acknowledgement. No visible action. No follow-up. No change. No explanation. After a while, people stop bothering. Because honesty does not just need to feel safe. It also needs to feel useful. If people keep speaking up and nothing meaningful happens, they start to believe the truth is welcome only in theory. And once that happens, silence starts to feel more rational than honesty. So if you want your team to keep telling you the truth, it is not enough to listen politely. You have to show that truth leads somewhere. That does not mean you can fix everything. You cannot. But it does mean people should see that you took it seriously, thought about it, responded to it, or explained what was possible and what was not. That is what keeps honesty alive. The third reason, teams stop being honest when leaders make disagreement feel personal. This is another big one. Some leaders say they want input, but the moment someone disagrees, everything gets tense. Now the conversation feels loaded. Now the person has to manage the leader's emotions. Now the room feels awkward. Now everyone is mentally calculating how much truth is too much truth. And when that happens often enough, people stop disagreeing openly. Not because they agree, because they are protecting themselves. This is where leadership maturity matters. Can you hear disagreement without treating it like disloyalty? Can you hear concerns without making the person feel like they are a problem? Can you separate your idea from your identity long enough to really hear what is being said? Because if disagreement feels personal to you, honesty will feel risky to them. And teams can sense that much faster than leaders realize. The fourth reason, people stop telling the truth when the culture rewards polish over honesty. In some environments, the issue is bigger than one manager. The whole culture teaches people to manage perception more than reality. People learn to sound positive, to avoid saying anything that might look difficult, to package concerns carefully, to protect optics, to bring leaders clean updates instead of honest ones. And once that becomes the norm, truth starts getting filtered at every level. That is dangerous. Because polished communication can make a team look calm while important problems grow underneath the surface. This is why strong leaders need to pay attention not just to what is said, but to what never gets said. Are people only bringing you finished thoughts? Do meetings feel unusually agreeable? Are concerns surfacing late? Do hard truths only come out in side conversations instead of in the room? Those are signals. Because on healthy teams, people do not just know how to sound good. They know how to be real. The fifth reason, teams stop telling the truth when leaders punish vulnerability without meaning to. Sometimes people are not bringing you truth because what they really need to say feels vulnerable. They need to admit they are overwhelmed. They need to say they do not understand something. They need to tell you that a deadline is unrealistic. They need to tell you they disagree with the direction. They need to share that morale is dropping. And if past experience has taught them that vulnerability gets met with judgment, impatience, dismissal, or subtle loss of trust, they will stop offering it. This is especially true on high-performing teams. High performers often become very skilled at looking capable, at looking composed, at looking like they have it handled. And leaders sometimes reinforce that by responding better to competence than candor. But if people feel like they can only bring you strength and not struggle, you are not getting the full truth. You are getting the edited version. And edited truth is one of the quietest ways teams start breaking down. The sixth reason, people watch what happens to other people. This is important. Your team is not only deciding whether to be honest based on what happens when they speak, they are also learning from what happens when other people speak. If someone raises a concern and gets dismissed, everyone learns. If someone challenges an idea and gets labeled difficult, everyone learns. If someone brings bad news and gets blamed, everyone learns. If someone admits overload and is quietly judged, everyone learns. That is why psychological safety is never just personal. It is social. People are constantly scanning the environment for examples. So if you want a more honest team, you have to pay attention to the collective message your leadership creates, because one poorly handled moment can teach a room to stay quiet for months. The seventh reason, the real goal is not comfort, it is trust. This is the deeper truth underneath all of this. Some leaders think honesty means the team should feel free to say anything at any time in any way. That is not really the point. The real goal is not unfiltered expression. The real goal is trust. Trust that concerns can be raised without unnecessary punishment. Trust that disagreement will not destroy the relationship. Trust that honesty leads to thoughtfulness, not ego. Trust that people do not have to perform perfection in order to stay in good standing. That is what makes truth possible. And when that trust exists, teams get healthier. Problems surface faster. Risks get caught earlier. Meetings become more real. Leadership gets better information. And people stop wasting energy managing perception all the time. So if you feel like your team is not fully telling you the truth, here is the real takeaway. Do not just ask whether people are being honest. Ask what your leadership may be teaching them about honesty. Are your reactions making truth feel safe? Does speaking up lead anywhere? Does disagreement feel personal? Is the culture rewarding polish over reality? Are people allowed to be candid without losing credibility? What happens to the person who says the hard thing? Because teams do not usually stop telling the truth all at once. They stop little by little, one reaction at a time, one silence at a time, one filtered conversation at a time. And if you want the truth back, the answer is not to demand it harder. The answer is to become the kind of leader people can safely be honest with. That is what changes the room. And that is what makes a team stronger. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you want more practical support, I've included links in the description to free resources on the website, along with my book, The Strategy Blueprint, a step-by-step guide to building your company strategy, available on Amazon. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the Work Chat for more practical conversations on workplace communication, leadership, confidence, and navigating the modern world of work. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think makes people stop telling leaders the truth? I'll see you in the next episode.